I tried to warn you guys about the Timberwolves, man. And that might, if you remember correctly in the Hoops All In video, I did end up picking the Lakers. And that was a mistake because I just thought Luca and LeBron were going to be Luca and LeBron. And we'll get to them later. They were not Luca and LeBron. But for as long as I've been making videos, I have said the Timberwolves wins aren't as high as they should be or as much as they would want to be, but you need to worry about them. You have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Last year, they were the number one defense in the league, and they made it to the Western Conference Finals. This year, they are not that, but they are still a great team. They look different, obviously, acquiring Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle and sending out Carl Anthony Towns, but they just did their thing in this Lakers series. Game one was a 22-point win for the Timberwolves. Game two was a 9-point loss. Game three, a 12-point win. Game four was a 3-point win where the overturning of the LeBron foul and the ball going out of bounds. And then game five was the 7-point win, which sent the Lakers home. And game five wasn't just an elimination game. It was Rudy Gobert's probably best playoff game he has had. He had almost 25 and 25. I think it was maybe like 27 points, 24, 23 rebounds. He was killing them. He had a couple big dunks. He shot 12 for 15, 80% from the field. And every game before game five, Rudy Gobert looked so bad in this series. He couldn't play, he couldn't even rebound, which is the one thing that if he's not going to defend, that Rudy Gobert will do because he's not great offensively. He couldn't even do that in this series until this elimination game, which was big time for the Timberwolves. Just some numbers throughout the series for the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, 27 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. That's an amazing, like, that 6 assists. And granted, it's 5 games, it's one playoff series, is such a big thing for them, man. And he only had 6 turnovers this entire playoff series, which is huge for a guy like Anthony Edwards who hasn't really unlocked that big playmaking part of his game just yet, but it looks like he's headed that way based on how the end of this season went and then this playoff series. Great thing. Julius Randle was hooping 22, 5, and 4. He was a big part of this. He's a better defender than Carl Anthony Towns. Sure, he's not the shooter that Cat is, or even the scorer at most times that Cat is, but everything else he does better. And he's played so well in the second part of this season as well with the Timberwolves. Jaden McDaniels, 17 and 6 rebounds. He shot 57% from the field. This was a Jaden McDaniels. This was like PJ Washington versus the OKC Thunder last year. McDaniels was hooping because the Lakers weren't respecting him, and he made them pay. And then Nas Reed, only 11 points, 4 rebounds, but he was 50% from three. He had some big time games early in this series, and he played the second least minutes of the players that mattered in this rotation. The only person that was behind him was Nikhil Alexander Walker. But Nas Reed was such a huge part of this series, especially from what we didn't see from Rudy Gobert the first 4 games. Um, and then for the Lakers, I mean, Luca had 30 points per game. I think about 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Oh, I mean, sure, the 30 is something that he does. LeBron, had his typical LeBron numbers. I think it was like 25, 9, and 5. Those two Lakers guys did not shoot amazing, I will say. I mean, again, efficiency for Luca hasn't always really been his thing because of how much scoring is on his shoulders and how much he does. So that's not always the negative like for him because just of the load that he carries. LeBron, again, we talked about this on the Hoops All In episode that dropped a few days ago, but LeBron had like his stats always look good, but he had some lackluster games as well, just like Luca did. This just wasn't a great season or a series. And again, another thing that I said before was this team isn't built for Luca and LeBron on the same team. This team was built for LeBron and Anthony Davis, the best that they could with the money implications. They acquired Luca, which hey, not the Lakers' fault at all. You get offered a guy like Luka Doncic for a loved guy in Anthony Davis who helped to bring you a ring and is one of the best big men in the league. And but he's 31, I think, and you get offered a 26-year-old 30-point triple double average almost, who is maybe one of the best talents we've seen in the last 20 years. The Lakers would be stupid to not accept that trade. So this is not on the Lakers. It's the season wasn't really too much to expect once that trade happened. And the fact that they were able to maintain a 3 seed and the defense in the regular season with those two didn't look too awful, I thought was a plus. Again, you would have liked to win. You were technically the higher seed, but the series just didn't go how you would have wanted. Obviously, the glaring holes. No real center that they love. Jackson Hayes didn't play a lot this series, even against Rudy Gobert, who was killing. He just got the coaches and JJ Redick just opted not to really use him this series. And they tried to go small. We saw with the game before where JJ played pretty much just Rui and Dorian Finney-Smith as the like 4 and 5 with obviously LeBron, Luca, and Reeves, and just opted to go small because that's what pretty much fits sort of with how like just having shooters because obviously Jackson Hayes is not that, and then no bench. I mean, Rui has pretty much had this role for the last few seasons of where he is used as the sixth man for the Lakers, but he's really like a fourth, like he's really should be a starter just based off the production he gives you, but they have to keep him on the bench because if he didn't wasn't on the bench, the scoring would be Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, Alex Len, like it would be the worst bench in the league. And obviously the things that I just mentioned with no center and no bench for the Lakers, the Timberwolves had. Again, Rudy Gobert the first 4 games, whatever, but you had last year's Six Man of the Year winner, who is one of the most versatile centers we have, to where he can handle the ball, he can shoot, he can get downhill. Again, he's not. It's not like he's a 25 point per game all star, but he's won Six Man of the Year last year, and he was shown to be super impactful. And then the other bench pieces, Dante DiVincenzo, Nikhil Alexander Walker, just guys that they're just a plus. I've said it. I don't know how many times I've said it that I think those 3 bench pieces of Dante, Nikhil, and Reed are the like 3 of the 10 best bench players in the league, and they're all on a team like Minnesota, who has one of the better starting fives in the league. Say what you want, Mike Conley obviously is declining. He's like 37, makes sense. He didn't have a greatest series, even though he had that block on LeBron in game 4, I want to say. And then I think he ended up getting hurt. But I mean, the Anthony Edwards was the best player in the series. And I mean, sure, you know what I'm saying? It's like LeBron and Luca, they're they are the better players, obviously. They have more decorated resumes, obviously, LeBron. Luca doesn't have much of a greater resume than Ant does at this time, but I was a fool to pick against the Timberwolves now that I look about it, speaking on how great I talked about them throughout this season. And whether their next playoff matchup, whether it is going to be the Golden State Warriors or whether the Houston Rockets do the inevitable and come back down 3-1, which I think is unlikely, I'm picking Minnesota. I picked I picked LA to beat both of those team or I would have picked LA versus Golden State. I think in our episode, we picked Houston to make, like, a Cinderella run to the Western Conference Finals, but I'm changing it. I will say what everyone's wrong once in a while, everyone gets wrong a lot, but the Timberwolves will be in the conference finals. I don't care who they play. Houston, I think they would be able to handle. Golden State might be the easier matchup if we're being honest. Obviously, Stephen Curry is nothing easy to go against, but they have so much defensively that they can throw at him to try and slow him down. Jimmy Butler, I mean, just throw Julius Randle on him, another big, strong body. He should be all right. Um, again, might not be a series where Rudy can play too much depending on how they run. If they, use a Quentin Post or Draymond at the five, but I feel confident. Timberwolves will be back in the Western Conference Finals, and and if it is OKC that they go against, if they make it there, that's going to be a good series. No matter how elite the Thunder have been, that'll be a good series. I think it'll go at least 6 games. Um, but again, back to this series. Lakers should come back better next year. Timberwolves, I don't know what they do because Julius Randle, I think, is technically a free agent. And I don't think that you would let him go for free, even though he's not the ideal piece to have, but the way he's been playing and the type of caliber player he can be, you don't just let that really walk unless they kind of make you just let him go and he wants to leave. But I haven't really gotten that sign from him that he's gonna be like, yeah, I don't want to come back. I think he wants to go where the money is, and I think the Timberwolves would pay him maybe not the, like, crazy max he wants, but a lot of money because they have to re-sign Naz Reid, they have to re-sign Nickeil Alexander-Walker. That was the whole point of trading Karl Anthony Towns in the summer, so great season from the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards is, again, a top 3 scorer in this league currently. He is a top 7 player in this league, no lower. You cannot convince me otherwise. He is a top 7, top 8 player, and he is going to stay that way. And he has had a great past 2 playoff runs, and I hope he can just keep putting on to it and, hopefully at some point get Minnesota to where they want to be. But we'll see who they play. We still have 3 more series to go that are all obviously tied up 3-2 going into some game sixes tonight. We got Knicks and Pistons. I think I think the Knicks close it out. Pistons had a great run, great season. So I think the Knicks win tonight, even though they will be in Detroit. We also have Clippers, Nuggets. Clippers look good in the last or not Clippers, Nuggets look good last game. The Nuggets might win, but I'm going with the Clippers because I want to see this series go to 7. So I guess I'm gonna roll with Clippers. Those are the 2 games for tonight. Obviously, the last series, which we'll play Friday, Golden State, Houston. I think the same thing about that I did with the Knicks series. I think Houston had a great run, but I don't know if Golden State's doing that for letting them force a game 7, especially at home. It would be great to see all these series go to game 7, but I think realistically the only one that could is the Clippers Nuggets series. So that's who I'm rolling with, but we'll review obviously the second round as a whole when everyone makes it there, but this has been a great first round to watch between every series, even though some series, ended in sweeps or, pretty convincing ends, whether, the Thunder, Cavs, and Celtics pretty much were all obvious in a way that that's how they were going to end. But that's all. Again, we'll be back for more.